So, guys, men going their own way is having a major impact on society, and not just in the United States, but globally. Leftover women are filled with regret. They are breaking down as men are choosing not to get into relationships, not to date, not to have children, and instead focus on themselves and their own happiness. Today's video comes from the China Unvarnished channel. Their channel will be linked in the description, so you can go check them out and support them. Watch the end of the video to fully understand the implications of what's happening, what it means for women going forward, as well as global society. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
听说大城市里的千万富翁都不找老婆了。
It is said that in today's major cities in China, many 10 millionaires seem to be gradually giving up on the idea of marriage, especially in economically developed areas like Shanghai and Hangzhou. A 10 millionaire from Hangzhou once revealed that he knows many people with similar backgrounds, such as property owners who received demolition compensation or landlords with multiple rental properties. Within these wealthy circles, a significant portion remain single, and some are even uninterested in finding a wife. Why do these wealthy men prefer to live like monks at home rather than finding a wife? Meanwhile, many young and beautiful women hope to marry into wealthy families and are flocking to various matchmaking markets, hoping to find a financially stable partner. This phenomenon feels somewhat delicate. Wealthy men are no longer enthusiastic about marriage, yet women eager to marry into wealth remain abundant. This mismatch in supply and demand has created a unique situation in the marriage market, allowing matchmakers to continue profiting. However, in reality, wealthy men seem to be gradually withdrawing from the marriage scene. This trend is not only seen in major cities, but also in some prefecture-level cities. Especially among those wealthy individuals who have experienced failed marriages, most of their assets and properties were divided during divorce. If they were to marry again, and if another divorce followed, they might face further asset division or even bankruptcy. Therefore, more and more wealthy men are beginning to realize that some women are interested not in them personally but in their assets, such as properties, cars, and savings. Consequently, in the eyes of these wealthy individuals, choosing not to marry has become a wiser lifestyle choice, freeing them from the potential risks and pressures that marriage might bring.
有一些富豪现在就是不结婚，我有个大哥就不结婚。
Nowadays, some wealthy individuals indeed choose not to marry. I know an elder brother who is like this. He doesn't plan to get married, but he found a girlfriend who is 17 years younger than him. This girl used to be a civil servant, but later, the elder brother didn't allow her to work anymore. They have been together for more than 2 years. Every year, he buys his girlfriend a property, while her own salary from her job was just over 4,000 yuan per month. However, the clothes she wears each cost tens of thousands of yuan, all funded by him. Once, they had a fierce breakup fight. The girl, emotionally distressed, expressed that she absolutely wants to get married and have children in the future. She cried in despair, even vowing that she must get married. In the end, the elder brother gave her another property. The reason he doesn't marry ultimately comes down to his financial power.
Guys, do you see how evil this is? But that guy is still a simp. But at least the simps are beginning to wake up to some degree. I mean, he keeps on giving her more and more properties. He's very wealthy, but no amount is enough for her. He's like, okay, here's another property. Here's another house. Here's more luxuries. But she wants to be married because she wants everything. She doesn't want, why should she have 2 or 3 houses when she could have everything that he owns? That's her mindset. She doesn't actually love him. She wants more. She will never be happy with any amount. And that's the thing that men are waking up and realizing that it makes no sense. And you have men who are just normal guys who are trying to court these women. And it's absolutely pointless when they can save their money and then just live off the interest in some cases. As men, we've sacrificed so much of our lives chasing women, courting women, saving for relationships. Now it's about us. Now it's about the soft guy era. Soft guy era is not a joke. Soft guy era is very, very real. All right, guys, with Trump back in office, things are gonna get a lot harder before they get better. Some things will get better, but things are gonna get a lot harder in the economy because a lot of that welfare money is gonna be gone. The irony is that even as things get harder in the economy, men are still going to be getting rich. Men are putting their money in crypto. Like right now, I'm buying my crypto. I have my specific cryptocurrencies. I've been investing in crypto for about 10 years now. So And guys, don't forget to check out my cryptocurrency academy because right now is the time. Bitcoin's almost $100,000 a coin. It is not too late to get into crypto. It is not too late to learn about the coins you should be investing in. I know the specific coins that have the most potential because I've been in crypto for a long time. Okay? So you should definitely be jumping in. If you want to learn about crypto, check out my cryptocurrency academy in the description. It's linked there. It's a great value. But yeah, I mean, guys, even as times are getting harder for everyone, men are going to be getting rich because we're not getting married, we're not having children, we're just focusing on ourselves and our own happiness.
As for whether he likes this girl, he definitely likes her, right? But with this mindset and way of handling things, his choice not to marry makes sense. You see, the elder brother is in the trade business in the United States, with a net worth of at least 3 to 400 million yuan. If he marries this girl, should anything happen, he could face a division of assets, possibly losing up to 150 million yuan. Thinking about it that way, not marrying seems pretty good. Now, many wealthy individuals who are already married actually regret it, feeling that marriage isn't necessary. Even if they are very satisfied with their spouse, marriage still brings certain constraints, especially financially. Suppose you have an asset worth 200 million yuan. Imagine, no matter how much you love your partner, would you be willing to give them 100 million yuan?
So the guy that kept on buying that woman properties, it makes perfect sense. He's worth a lot of money. 300 million yuan works out to 41 million United States dollars. 200 million yuan, that works out to about $27 million. That's why the woman is so pissed off. That's why she's furious that he won't marry her and she's screeching and hollering and carrying on a tangent because she wants more. She doesn't want, a nice house or nice houses. It's not enough for her. Giving her tens of thousands of dollars, showering her with gifts. She's looking at it like it's nothing because she knows what he's worth and she wants everything. She wants it all. So she marries this guy and then he loses half of his stuff. And some of these men have already done this. Some of these extremely wealthy men, they've gotten married to these women, and these men are worth tens of millions of dollars. They get a divorce, they lose half their stuff. They lose $10 million, $20 million, and then they're supposed to go and do it all over again. And modern women don't have any empathy, but you have to understand, we shouldn't be blaming women. We should be blaming the simps that have created this culture where women believe that this is acceptable. And society believes it's acceptable to do this to men. It's all because of the simps.
Those who easily make such promises are often the ones who don't have 200 million yuan. Imagine if you really had assets worth 200 million yuan. Would you still make that commitment so casually? Many people say that if they had 1 billion yuan, they would donate 100 million yuan, but most of these people are saying so because they don't actually have that kind of money. It's like now, some people have 1 million yuan but may not necessarily donate 100,000 yuan. This kind of thinking and behavior essentially comes from people's control over their own wealth and their choices.
Recently, I had some discussions about marriage with a few male friends in their 30s who have each achieved annual incomes exceeding 1 million yuan and have successfully started their own businesses. Their common perspective is that after the age of 30, the allure of marriage gradually fades. When we talked about the reasons, they mentioned that the pressure of running a business is high, and they're constantly busy every day, leaving little energy to experience the kind of first love romance they had in college. They no longer want to put effort into pursuing women, nor are they willing to spend time and energy on activities like dinners or movies. Now in their 30s, they have become more rational, and their pursuit of romance is no longer as invested as it once was. For these successful entrepreneurs, living in first-tier cities, having a house and a car with manageable financial burdens often makes the single life feel free.
Something interesting about romance. Romance is something that was created by men. Women don't know anything about romance. Romance was created by men, and it was created specifically by men of lower status to compete with men of higher status. Because men who have higher status don't have to compete for women. Women naturally gravitate towards them. It's because of movies and media why even wealthy men believe that they have to be romantic to get the girl. The reality is that poor men created romance so that they could compete with wealthy men because they had nothing else to offer. So the only things they could do was to compete through behavior. The reality is that wealthy men are waking up and realizing they should never be competing using romance in the first place. They have the value, they are the prize. Why would they try to compete with someone else to get the girl when naturally the girl would want to gravitate towards them because of their resources? And guys, if you're enjoying the content, check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. Inside, you'll get exclusive videos, top tier travel tips, digital nomad guides, passive income strategies, pop culture and geek culture commentary, and hard hitting manosphere content on gender dynamics, dating, and relationships. Free subscribers have access to videos, podcasts, articles, and a community chat, plus receive the passive income blueprint and digital nomad blueprint just for joining. Paid subscribers unlock even more value, including exclusive guides like the How to Build an Online Business in 24 Hours ebook, wealth building blueprints, and crypto updates. Join us today by clicking the link in the description and take your journey to the next level.
They tend to engage in short-term relationships with women they get along with, rather than choosing the long-term commitment that marriage brings. This mindset is quite common in first-tier cities like Guangzhou, especially among men who have an economic foundation. They believe that marriage would add extra pressure, such as the financial burdens of raising and educating children. And if a partner cannot contribute financially or improve their quality of life, they often feel that staying single is more suitable. Men's attitudes toward marriage also vary at different ages. Young men who have just entered society might look forward to a pure relationship. For instance, many wealthy individuals shared that in their early 20s, they were willing to give a lot to their girlfriends. However, after experiencing setbacks in relationships, they gradually became more realistic or felt hesitant about marriage for various reasons. If they meet a suitable partner willing to marry in their early 20s, there might be a greater chance of early marriage. But after going through the trials of society, career-driven men around 30 to 35, having shed their youthful naivety, view relationships more rationally. They are not in a rush to marry because their advantages in age and career give them a broader choice, allowing them to attract many young women. However, once men are over 35, they generally start focusing more on family stability, with pressures from parents to marry and have children pushing them toward a positive attitude toward marriage. At this point, they value a woman's social contributions and emotional connection, hoping their partner can provide support and stability. After reaching 40, they may start to let go of the strong desire for marriage, viewing it as no longer a necessity in life, but if they meet someone who moves their heart, they may still consider it. For middle-aged men who are highly successful in their careers, they tend to become simpler and more sincere in their choices for marriage, no longer seeking financial capability in their partners but focusing more on companionship and emotional resonance. At this stage, they hope to find a partner who loves them for who they are, not just their money. For them, the goal of marriage is affection rather than a means to maintain wealth. Some women might think of using children to secure a relationship, but in reality, even having children with a wealthy man does not necessarily ensure a marriage. For example, in China, there are beautiful women who have had 3 sons with wealthy men yet never married them, and some women have been with celebrities for 20 years without a marriage certificate. Binding affection through children is also unfair to the children, as some wealthy men are willing to provide long-term support for their children but may not give the mother a marriage certificate. For young women considering marriage, especially when facing high-quality, successful men, it's worth pursuing boldly. However, if the man cannot explicitly commit to marriage, it's wise to let go decisively. Why do so many rich second-generation individuals hesitate to get married? Men from ordinary families often have to live single lives reluctantly due to lack of money. However, those from wealthy backgrounds, who enjoy abundant material lives, also choose not to marry, which is hard to understand. Take a look. Some wealthy parents prepare a house early for their sons, buy a car, and provide a solid family background, yet the children still aren't in a hurry to marry.
You see, women believe that they are a gift from God, and that any man who does not want to marry a woman or is not in a rush to marry a woman, there is something wrong with them. Keep in mind, if you have a woman who is the same age and saying that she does not want to get married, she doesn't want to have any children, she has no desire for this, especially a woman who is young, they will actually say, oh, you go, girl. That's perfect. You shouldn't be worrying about those things. All right. Women are commended for not getting married, not having children, and for choosing to remain single, even though they're never really single. They're basically out there with different guys, but they're not settling down with any of them. versus men who don't actually have that option a lot of the time. But when you have men who say, yeah, I'm good by myself, I don't want to get married or have any children either, immediately they are attacked by a multitude of women for choosing to just stay single. So that's what society basically says. A woman who chooses to remain single, good. Her body, her choice, her life, her choice. A man who chooses to remain single, very, very bad man. He's doing something bad in society. They start to question your sexuality. They start to tear you down. They start to shame you. They start telling women that if he doesn't want to marry, then let him go. Don't even continue dating him. If you're dating a wealthy man and he refuses to marry you, then move on to the next wealthy man. This is actually pretty stupid, by the way, because just because a man is not marrying you, if he's still helping you in life, if he's still providing for you, if he's still providing for you, if he's still doing all of these things like buying you multiple properties, but he's not going to marry you, so you need to move on. Guys, boyfriends are hard to come by right now. Men are increasingly choosing to walk away. The average man who is not wealthy is choosing to walk away, realizing that by not getting married, not having children, they can live relatively comfortable lives just off the income that they've made. You know, a lot of these men are just living off the interest from their money in places like China. Some of you guys watching my videos have already retired, essentially retired. You may only work just enough to survive and thrive and no more. And there are others of you that just don't work at all. You know, you were in the military for 20 years, and it wasn't just like the military, you were in the military, and then some of y'all even double dipped. You went and worked at another job after that. So you got out of the military after this much time, and you went into another job and worked at, let's say, the post office, and now, you know, you're collecting two different pensions and all kinds of stuff like that. Or you're getting two different checks a month, and you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to work anymore at all. And women absolutely hate that. And then you have idiots who are like, well, it doesn't matter how much money you've made. You should still be out there constantly doing better. That's the job of a man. All right? Go get married, have some children, buy a house, blah, 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 blah. It's about legacy, guys. Legacy is absolute nonsense. I'm telling you right now, when you are no longer off this earth, your legacy means nothing. It's not your guys, it's not my problem when I'm gone. If you have children, you do these things, you put money aside and all of this stuff to prepare for their future, so that you can worry about them while you're still here. When you're gone, it doesn't matter anymore. There's nothing you can do for them. You are never coming back. Many of you are like, oh, well, Jesus Christ will raise us up. That's fine. And I do believe in Jesus and, eternal life. I don't know if we're going to come back after we die. I really don't. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I love God with my entire heart. But I don't know if we're coming back after this. And honestly, I do not want to come back in this form. I just never would. I don't want this. This is horrible. This is horrible. Life is hell. Just for many. It's like, so I mean, that's why the Spartans used to say, may you live forever, because the idea of living forever, at least in this form, is just not, it's not realistic. Our flesh and our bones, our bodies in flesh and blood form. These bodies were not meant to be here forever. Our brains were not meant to process information that the way that they do, forever like this. It would be a nightmare never just to exist like this forever. It's just a big no. The real idea is for us to enjoy the lives that we have as much as possible. So many of us, we live these stressful lives. We spend most of our lives trying to build up enough wealth and resources so we can find a woman who will appreciate us and allow us to have children and form a family. But they're only really looking at our utility. And relationships have always been transactional, but now they're increasingly predatory. And a lot of that is because of the simps, how the simps have destroyed society. You have to understand, simps operate as agents of the state, and simps are terrible, because I've been making these polls about the simps, calling them out, and they're coming after me, trying to silence me for letting y'all know that it's them. Don't blame women for what's happened. Blame simps. Nothing could happen nothing could have happened without the simps. All right, the simps are the ones who whisper lies into the ears of women. The simps are the ones who tell them to go on platforms like OnlyFools and degrade themselves. These are the men who tell their wives that they can go and have relationships with other dudes, and they'll even sit there and watch. Those are the simps. The simps have the Jezebel spirit within them. All right, those are the people that were in Sodom back in the day when God destroyed it. These are absolutely evil people. The simp is not your friend, and they will never take any accountability. One simp said that you can't hold simps responsible for what they've done because they didn't have control. They did not have control of themselves, so you cannot blame them for what they've done. You cannot blame someone for what they've done because they had no self-control. That's right. So they can't be held accountable. Do you see how stupid that is, guys? Plausible deniability. Who does something similar? Women. Plausible deniability, where the things that they do, they should not be held accountable for. That's the exact same garbage simps are pulling. All right? You need to hold these men accountable. You need to call them out. All right? Stop focusing on women. Start focusing on these individuals who are responsible for all the pain and suffering that we go through as men. They're the ones who have destroyed society. They're the ones who operate as agents of the state, and their goal is to demoralize men, degrade men, and to reallocate wealth and resources from men to the state, and they are rewarded by doing this, okay? These men do not like men. They hate us. It wasn't just women who did not like men that were the founders of first wave feminism. It was also men who did not like men. Okay? It was a combination. These were people who did not like men. So what do simps do? They say a toxic masculinity, and they basically get rid of their masculinity, their toxic masculinity, and now they're the good men. So this gives them access to women and money, women and resources. Who are the people, the men who are allowed to work at these companies and that have gone woke? The simps. Guys, the simps they are privileged. A lot of these dudes that become X-Men, all right? It's a bunch of jealousy. It's a bunch of jealousy that want to participate in sports that are predominantly women or things like that want to enter guys and go into women's spaces. These are simps. These are simps. They are jealous of women. They want what women have. They want that privilege. So what they do is they destroy the lives of men, and then they hide behind women, saying that women are at risk and women need to be protected, and they're the right ones to protect them. And then they're allowed to get access to the resources that women also get access to, as well as women, because they are the good men. Think about that carefully.
Could it be because the parents introduced too many girlfriends, making them dazzled and unwilling to settle down? Or perhaps they enjoy the dating experience but don't want the constraints of marriage. These rich second-generation individuals may even date one girl after another, free from the moral or responsible binds of marriage. This seems to fulfill a particular mindset. They can experience the sweetness of love countless times without bearing the burdens of marriage. Actually, wealthy people aren't lacking in female friends, as their wealth acts like a magnet, attracting many women who approach and flatter them.
Notice what she said right there. Wealthy people are not lacking in female attention because their wealth acts like a magnet, attracting women to them who then flatter them. Did I not tell you that that these men don't need romance? Romance is for brokies. Romance is for is for men of a lower class. It's the truth. A high value, wealthy man does not need to be romantic. Chad and Tyrone don't need romance because they're highly valued. They are highly sought after. They're not wealthy, but they're highly sought after by women for the qualities that they have. So they don't have to be romantic. They don't have to have any of those traits. They can be their naturally toxic self, and women will continue to gravitate towards them. The only men who have to be romantic are men who have something to prove. If you're a wealthy man, you have nothing to prove because your money, your wealth speaks for you. And women who say things like they don't care about a man's money and money can't do this and blah, 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 they are lying. It's always been about the money. The problem is that women will always want more. That's why you have women who are with these very wealthy men, and these men are showering them with gifts, showering them with real estate, giving them essentially what would amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts on a regular basis, and it's never enough because they will always want more. And then these women are becoming miserable. They're becoming nervous and anxious because they can't get everything. All right, they're like, this man is spending a couple $100,000 on me per year. He's spending $100,000 on me. He's spending 200 or $300,000 on me. That is nothing. He is worth $50 million. Spending $100,000 on me is literally nothing. This man does not love me. But so you're telling me he doesn't love you, but that's a salary for another man, a massive salary. Well, I just, and guys, when they end up with these types of men, and then they lose access to these men, then they can never go back to a guy who makes $50,000 a year, which is a large amount of money in China. So they will always have continually high expectations, and then they will never realize that that they don't deserve a millionaire. They don't deserve these men. But it won't matter because psychologically to them, they've now experienced this type of lifestyle, so they think that's what they deserve because women cannot go back. Chris Rock said this. He said women cannot go back. They can't do it, won't do it. Once they've had caviar, they're not going back to spam. Okay? Once they've lived the good life, they're not going back. This is the reason why I say, the streets lead to only fools, and only fools leads to the streets. Because once they're on OnlyFools and they make a bunch of money on OnlyFools, but it starts to dry up, maybe they get shut down or shut out, and they've become accustomed to a certain way of life. Well, what are they going to do? You think they're going to go back to working at McDonald's if they can even get a job at McDonald's, making $15 to $20 an hour? Not after experiencing a certain type of lifestyle. They're going to go to the streets and they're going to make their money on the streets, shilling their wares. Or a lot of these girls are already on the streets. So what do? They're like, oh, I can go to OnlyFools and maximize my earnings. So they leave the streets for OnlyFools, and then they go on OnlyFools, and maybe that doesn't work out, so they end right back up on the streets. And then after they can't look at themselves in the mirror anymore because they're now totally messed up, sometimes as a result of substance use, or just they're just living that type of lifestyle, then they end up in the church. And then after ending up in the church, because the church is a corrupt organization, is not a representation of the Church of Jesus Christ. The pastor is nothing more than a pimp. Now they become demoralized in the church, and then where do they end right back up? They end up right back up in the streets. It's a vicious and evil cycle. That's why I say stay out of the church, stay off the streets. All right? Because the streets lead to the church, and the church leads right back to the streets.
Many girls hope to become the significant other of a wealthy second-generation individual, so they certainly don't lack dating opportunities. They can fully satisfy their physical and psychological needs in romantic relationships, enjoying happiness and fulfillment without needing marriage to achieve these. In modern society, wealthy people can even pass on their lineage through other means, such as choosing to have a child via surrogacy, avoiding the complexities of marriage. Many wealthy individuals simply want their own descendants without necessarily building deep emotional connections with the child's mother. For women of lower social status who try to cling on, these rich second-generation men may only maintain the relationship as long as they provide emotional value. Otherwise, these women may be seen as second-class citizens within the family. Marriage does indeed impose a certain degree of restraint, especially for the wealthy. Once married, they need to take responsibility for their partners and can no longer date freely as they did when single. For families of similar social status, marriage can also serve to preserve and enhance wealth, becoming a strategic partnership. However, from a legal perspective, spouses are not blood relatives. If a wealthy person leaves their estate to a wife with no blood connection, this outsider could potentially inherit a large portion of the wealth should they pass away unexpectedly or grow old. This is a significant risk for those who prioritize wealth management.
Marriage for the average man is simply a bad idea. One thing that a lot of guys end up doing, and this is what guys have been doing for a long time, is they'll go to the Philippines, countries like the Philippines, and they'll go over there and they'll have some children over there. So they'll find themselves a Filipina, and they'll have some children with a Filipina. They don't marry her, and they'll build her a small cottage. It doesn't cost a lot to do that, and that's basically it. And they'll have a kid or children over there, and they'll go to the Philippines and they'll visit their children whenever they choose to, and then they return to the US. And that's how a lot of men live their lives. And it makes more sense that way. For me, I don't want to have children. After the life that I've lived, the pain, the suffering, I think the kindest thing that I can do for a child is to not bring them into this world. There are a lot of these idiots who say something like that's selfish. No, I think I wish my parents had never brought me into this world. I wish, I'm so serious. I wish I had never been born. And many of you are like, well, then you would be dead. That's not true because I would never have been born, so I would never have had this experience. And it's a much better it's better to have never existed than to go through all of this and then go return to dust and ashes to ashes. It's like you're just here to suffer. And of course, that's just my personal perspective on the entire matter. But I think, especially in this world and reality right now, the greatest thing you could do for a child is just not to have them. And I've had so many ups and downs in my life. I think the best thing is I just want to live my life and enjoy it as much as I can. There are things I still may want to do, create and see, and that's about it. And when I'm gone, I'm gone. You know, there's no legacy for me to build. I don't have that thing inside of me. There's no such thing as legacy. Oh, what you leave behind, no one cares. Elon Musk could pass away tomorrow and people would forget him very quickly. The world would move on very, very quickly. It would be strange as hell. It'd be strange, absolutely strange. Like, someone else would acquire X and basically his name would only be mentioned. Hey, it used to be owned by Elon. They would forget about him. Guys, we would forget about Elon overnight as his companies begin to go down, or maybe they're saved and someone else takes over. We would forget about Elon very quickly. Despite all of his achievements, and everything else, we'd forget about him very quickly. If Trump had been, they tried to take Trump out. If Trump had been taken out, we would have forgotten about Trump very quickly and moved on. That's the reality we now live in. After 2020, we are so bogged down with life and hardships and stress. Many of us, some of you are like, I feel great. Good for you. But for the average person, nothing has felt normal since 2020, since the events of 2020. And it's just how life is. You just realize just how miserable existence is, for just in general, for a lot of people at least. And the key is just to focus on yourself and forget, worry about you and forget about everyone else.
As a result, wealthy individuals are more inclined than ordinary people to control their wealth and avoid letting the fat flow into others' fields. This mindset is somewhat akin to ancient Egyptian pharaohs who chose to marry within close kin to ensure power and wealth stayed within the family. For modern wealthy individuals, unless they meet a family of equal standing, the risks of marriage and uncertainties in wealth distribution often make them hesitant. They can fulfill emotional and physical needs outside of marriage, enjoying the benefits of love without bearing the restrictions that marriage brings.
As you guys can see, leftover women are filled with regret because men are choosing to avoid them. Men are choosing to avoid relationships and dating. And MGTOW is spreading across the world. Men going their own way, who are realizing the juice was never worth the squeeze. They don't want bad attitudes. Why? The only men that are still going out there and trying to chase after relationships are men who are afraid to be alone. That's really it. If you're not a simp, then the only reason why you're trying to look for a relationship is because you're afraid to be alone. And then you'll try to attack other men who just have realized it's better to be alone than to feel alone. It's better to be alone than to put up with the kind of crap that you do. And a lot of these guys don't seem to understand that. They're like, oh, I'm going to get married and have access to unlimited amounts of physical intimacy. Yeah, little bro, that's not how it works. You end up in a relationship with essentially what the equivalent of a roommate, a roommate who does not like you, has contempt for you, but expects you to pay all of their bills and doesn't even really want to sleep in the same room as you, let alone you touch them. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Leftover women are filled with regret, and it's only going to get much worse and much harder because as more men walk away, and we're entering into an economic downturn, a massive economic downturn, even much worse than it is right now, when it becomes very, very evident that yeah, we're not only in a recession, we've been in a long-term depression, and it's people are going to be struggling. But for men who are not married, not having children, not doing these things, the average man can live happily in a shoebox at the side of the road. The average woman cannot. You're going to find a lot of women living in poverty, destitution, hardship, shelters, their cars, in the streets, in the woods. These are the same women who said that they would choose the bear over a man. So like I've said plenty of times, they can go, let the bear take care of them. They can go hang out with Yogi and Boo Boo and see how they treat them. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about everything we discussed here. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. Men walking away. And cheers.